As you guys already know, this is ISIWL nearing episode 30, which I'm very excited to be introducing along you gentlemen. So thank you for allowing me to do this. And we were just talking about a topic on podcasting where it's the biggest factor is consistency. So I think there was a couple statistics that I'm not familiar with quite just yet. But given the fact that we're near 30 episodes, what has allowed you guys to stay consistent and committed to your journey?
Sorry, my allergies are killing me right now. I've been sneezing all day. It's these pants, these corduroy pants. But Reggie sent me this video yesterday, and you've sent me similar videos. But it's every time I'm reminded, it kind of lights like a fire in me, like an excitement. Pretty much says like, pretty sure he's English, and he says, 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 30 or episode 3, excuse me. And after that 90% don't even make it past episode 20, and we're nearing episode 30. So out of that, we're at a 1%. That's what I'm trying to say. We're at a 1%. And he sent that to me, and I was just like, I watched it like 5 times. I was like, saying the same thing. And it's a quick video, and I was like, holy cow. Him and I think what's also added on to the fact that we see this as therapeutic. I don't see this as like, gotta get followers, gotta make money, gotta get followers. No. Because him and I have built the foundation right off the bat of understanding that we're doing this almost selfishly for us to just talk. And within that factor of building that foundation and knowing we're doing this for us, it's allowed us to have fun with it. It's allowed us to be like, hey, if we don't get any followers by episode 20, 30, that's fine. That's fine. This isn't a 100-meter run. This is a straight up marathon. This is something that's going to take time. And the people that it will attract and the people that will actually be able to, because my biggest thing that I've told him is like, if I only touch one single person, I've changed one single person's life, my life is made with this podcast. ISIWL would be good for me, would be great, would be phenomenal if we are able just to allow it to help one person. We've spoken off air that there's already people that have reached out, said thank you, like this, they've been touched by what we're doing, even on your own personal page as well. And that in itself, that we've already touched more than one person, I'm like, holy cow, like we got to keep doing this. Even if we only got 90 followers, 100, 120, and we're at episode 30 now, the followers will come. I'm more about quality rather over quantity. So I'm all about the quality of work that we're putting out. I'm all about the longevity, the marathon. And I think because we've instilled the factor at the very beginning of the fact that we're not doing this for numbers, we're not doing this to, get monetized from it or anything like that. Yes, would that be awesome? Absolutely. Will it happen? Hopefully, that'd be dope. We're doing this specifically for the value that we're trying to bring out and showcase ourselves, who we truly are as individuals at heart. Loving and caring gentlemen, high-valued men, including yourself. That's what's made me, whenever the doubt does come, because don't get me wrong, the doubt does come. That's what's allowed me to be like, shoot, remember why you started? Go back to the basics, go back to the very beginning as to why you're doing this. And that's how doubt is going to be like, okay, whatever. Like, it's going to go away. At least for me personally. I don't know if I can speak for you, but I know for me, I'm just like, okay, cool. That's fine. That's totally fine. Because I'm like, again, we're already at episode 30 almost, if not at 30. And we're already at a 1%. We're already doing better than most podcasts. And I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but it honestly, does it feel like we're at episode 30?
No, it feels like we just started. Like, feels like maybe episode 1, like 1 or 2.
Exactly.
Yeah. Andrew drives a really good point, and this is what I would say, and it's probably just a paraphrase of what he's already said. Your ability to succeed in any long-term venture is directly predicated on your level of enthusiasm over that entirety of that journey. So do something that you love. Do something that you enjoy. And if you only take one other piece of wisdom for me or from me, do it with people that you enjoy working with. Do it with people that you love. A lot of times we worry about the success of how a venture of any kind will play out. And that could be something in your personal life, or it could be something like a podcast, or it could be a business. And we do look at this like a business. But what I would highly recommend to individuals who truly want to succeed is that they reshape what their idea of success is. My idea of a success is purely enjoying the journey, because the journey will always be equally as important, if not more important, than the destination. Often the destination is merely a transitional point where you find new things to do. Right? Let's say I learn a new skill like jiu-jitsu. If I get really good at it, I'm probably going to want to go learn something else. So how long did that enjoyment last? Right? I probably learned a lot more from and enjoyed a lot more from the actual experiences of learning than I did from getting to a point where I say, yeah, I'm really good at this. And so like when you start to talk about a word that he mentioned, which is doubt, especially self-doubt, I think it's probably correlated to people's unrealistic expectations, of what success actually is. I think a lot of times we tie in, because it's a very important factor in our society, we tie in money. A lot of times, because it's become very prevalent, we'll tie in how other people view us. But to try and find true self-peace, I'd highly recommend looking internally and finding what you enjoy, and then trying to diagnose why that's something that you enjoy. And if you're able to find the answers to those two questions, what you enjoy and why you enjoy it, I believe it's probably a fairly high probability that if you dedicate to that specific craft, whatever it may be, could be knitting socks, could be shoveling coal, could be a podcast, could be planting a garden, I don't really care, nor should you. You will find that you'll probably succeed in that above all of the doubt. Another thing I'd highly recommend specifically about self-doubt is to recognize that it's a natural part of life. A lot of times we beat ourselves up way too much. You know, before the pod, we were talking about both the podcast and the success, or the variability of success in it, but we were also talking about self-doubt. And you said it's something that is with you every day, as is fear, as is anguish at times. If these are daily visitors in your life, why not welcome them in as friends? I seek out fear now. I look for him. He's sick of me. It's like, this guy again? That's the life I want to live. I want to live a life where I said I tried things that I was absolutely terrified of, even when I didn't believe in myself. And luckily, I've surrounded myself with the type of people who not only encourage me to do those things, but instill a sense of belief within myself based off of their view of me. And that's about as far out as my radius of thought goes in regards to who is thinking about me or what their thoughts are about me. Is people who truly know me. It's Bob, it's you guys, it's Mike, it's Sav, you know what I mean? It's Nicole. There's really not many more people outside of the people I've just mentioned. So keep that circle small and keep it to people who have a sense of direction in their lives and have a sense of commitment to see you fulfill your vision. When we talk about self-doubt, it's the moments where we're alone and we're in our heads that are probably the most dangerous. And so something you said the other day was like the way that you journal and you kind of communicate with yourself. You found a medium. I'd like to know, if you're comfortable with sharing it, how you lean into that to allow you to relieve yourself from a mental headspace that might have you stuck.
I ask questions. I ask questions to myself. And that's how I invite self-doubt That's how I invite fear, anguish. Because the questions I ask, they're broken down to try to figure out the source of the problem. So, example, let's say I'm having a bad day. Okay, first thing is, why am I having a bad day? That's kind of a generic question. This went wrong. Okay, that was, I backed up into a fence. Right? Real problem situation. But was that really the cause of me having a bad day? Not really. I woke up late in the morning. My alarm didn't go off. Why was that? I didn't set up before. I didn't get a good breakfast. I was thinking that I was behind on some tasks that I didn't do yesterday. So see, all of this lined up so that when I'm writing in my journal, now I'm able to kind of backtrack. Oh, okay, I see. So I'm not upset because I backed up into a fence. I'm not upset because I had a fight with my lady or had a fight with my bro or whatever it may be. I'm upset because all these things accumulated. So that's how I kind of lean into the journaling aspect of things. I talk to myself in the journaling. I question myself a lot of times, and don't take it as like a negative. I think questioning yourself is the best thing in the world, because you get to question like whether the action you made was the right thing to do. You get to ask yourself, is there a better way to go about it? That's my favorite one. Is there a better way to go about it? Because I know we always talk about improvement. So that's how I lean into it.
Yeah. I love that you are able to self-diagnose through this like reverse engineering of your mind. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that was like a redeeming quality of yours. What's really interesting when you begin to lean into the questions about yourself, and this is something that I had to go through forcefully when I lived by myself for about 2 years, didn't have many people around when I moved down here and was trying to pioneer a new space. I really had to ask myself meaningful questions about what I liked about myself and what I didn't. And I think that what you're saying in regards to the questions that you ask yourself, it's really important that people who are having serious high levels of self-doubt sit down and probably take a little bit of time to diagnose what they enjoy about themselves and what they don't. I think this is really important because it both recognizes your beauties, which we all have, but it also recognizes flaws. And then it allows you to work on them. And if we don't take the time to sit down and recognize what we want to work on, we can never work on it. Like I always loved that they said the very first step in AA, I might be wrong about this, but I think they said it's recognizing that you have a problem. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That might be from an old textbook, but point proven, if you don't take a moment to sit down and diagnose what's going wrong, you're probably never going to be able to start the journey, much less finish the journey of being able to conquer self-doubt. Mm-hmm. I especially look at this with people who often allow a lot of input into their lives as a form of like a screen. I worry about those people. Mm-hmm. I worry deeply about those people. I worry because I was, and at times are, those people. I watched a guy the other day when we were at the club. We were all out dancing, or rather at a bar, really. And this guy was, he was shot after shot after shot, and like throwing his head back. And I was like, I wonder if he's okay. Because maybe he's just trying to relieve a little bit of stress, and this isn't a regular thing, but possibly maybe I was overthinking it. I began to wonder, is he running from something when he's drinking? Is this how he covers up or masks the real problems that need to come to the surface and be addressed? And I'll never know. Yeah. I'll never know. All I can do is wonder, but for individuals who are in that situation, I would say you got to take a step back. Often we try our best to move forward and power through things, and the absolute best cure for yourself is actually to take a step back. Sit down and rest. Think about what you are going through and truly diagnose it. Mm-hmm. You know, I know you came out of a really rough time, especially off of that last relationship. And my curiosity has been killing me recently. I'm kind of wondering, what did you say to yourself about yourself when you were on the tail end of that journey?
So I said a lot of things, and it was funny when Chris, when you were saying you kind of had to like question yourself. A lot of it at the beginning was, was mostly questioning myself, but at the same time trying to change myself, if that makes sense. We've talked about this. I know that I am a loving person. I know that I guess I'm more emotional than most men. Like I'm very in touch with my emotions. And I'm sure you guys can see it. Like I'm a big, like, I'm a love hard. And I think for me, I question a lot of it, like based off of what society said as to why I was in the situation that I was, and question it in a way where I was like, you were too loving or you're too emotional, but in a negative way, to where now I was like, I need to not be those things. Towards the tail end of it, after spending a lot of time alone, I did the same thing but reverse. So I questioned myself, and rather than questioning myself to change it in a negative way, I question it in a sense of to admire who I was as a person. Excuse me. So more of in like you're loving because that's who God made you to be. You're a loving person. You're too emotional because of the fact that God made you the way. You're a loving, very emotional man. And those are characteristics that you have to value of yourself. So rather than being at it on the other end, we're being like, these are the things you have to change, and doubting myself like, oh, I'm in this situation because these are the things that I need to change about myself. I need to be more of what the world wants. I need to be more of what society wants. I need to be a dog. I need to be this. I need to be that. On the tail end, after I spent a lot of time in therapy, a lot of time reconstructing myself as an individual, a lot of time literally honestly breaking down and spending space in my own head, where I would literally sit in a dark room and just sit there in a dark room, just sit there and just cry and think about who I was as a man. And it was emotional, like it sucked. But it was one of those things that I had to do, because over time practicing that and really almost evaluating myself as an individual, it allowed me to then get over that hump and then come back down and be like, okay, no, those aren't things. You're completely wrong, Andrew. Those aren't things that you need to change. Those are things that you need to hold closer and value, and only because we've had this conversation, give to those people that matter. My mom, Nicole, you, Reggie, you, Cristobal, Sav, Big Mike, Jen, Mac, G, all those people. And only give it to those, because those are people that are actually going to value them and be like, no, those are good qualities. You've never told me I'm too emotional. You've never told me I'm too emotional. You've never told me I need to love less. You've never told me I need to love less. Nicole's never done that. G's never done that. Mac, Jen, Sav, Big Mike, none of you guys have ever done that. So for me, what I had to do towards the tail end was admire those things, because for the longest time I didn't. And again, it's because I gave it, for the retrospect of your question, to the wrong woman, and she didn't value that, and she saw that as a weakness. And so for me now, and something that I love a lot about Nicole, and even honestly that I've never told you guys, but I love about you guys, is that you never make me feel like who I am as an individual, as a man, is different. You guys almost admire them. We see this as we're high valued men. Even you said, yeah, I'm a very emotional. You're a big lover. You don't look like it, but I know you are. Same thing with you, and same thing with Big Mike. We're all very similar in that aspect, and we never question each other and be like, why are you like that? We're like, no, that's a good quality. And so for me now, it's like, and the biggest thing of advice is for people watching this is admire who you are as an individual and those things that may be different from what social media says, from what your day-to-day person says that, is, in the scene doing what everyone else wants them to do and has that mask of not actually being who they truly are, but just trying to be who everyone tells them to be. And what I've admired now and has made me grow stronger, more comfortable in dealing with self-doubt. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. Like I still, like you said, before we started this podcast, you said, I deal with self-doubt every day. Same. Even for the most simplest things, but same. And it's constantly going back to the basics and remembering where I was and being like, dude, love who you are as an individual. Don't try and change it just because you may be different from everyone else or everyone else sees that as a weakness. Admire who you are as a man. And this is, mostly for men because, we're men sitting here. Admire who you are as a man, as a man, and that's going to be able to open up so much more doors to help you grow as an individual and add, new things onto that and be able to kind of, continue just steering towards the right direction. So when things like this happen again or similar situations happen, you're going to know how to maneuver that. And Chris G said it. He said, yeah, this has allowed me to be able to now, if something comes up, because it's going to come back. And we've had this conversation where you may have gone through a tough situation. You've now maneuvered it. And how the world works and how God works, it's crazy that he's going to bring that challenge back to you. He's going to bring that test back to you. And it's going to be like, shoot, this seems very familiar. And it's like, because it is. So how are you going to overcome this?
That's such an interesting way to look at things. And I think a lot of people would neglect a few of the points that you mentioned had you not said it in such a specific way. And I want to reiterate one of the biggest ones that I'm always constantly aware of because we are trying to break into some of the spaces that involve a lot of different people like social media, right? One of the things you mentioned was how you had to ask yourself questions in relation to not only what you viewed about yourself, but also you had to separate or delineate away from what others or how others viewed you. And what's interesting is Nipsey Hussle has one of the most beautiful quotes in the world where he said, would you rather be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, or would you rather be at peace with yourself and at war with the world? And a real interesting separation that a person has to make is where they draw their self-worth from. If your self-worth is delineated or drawn in any way, shape, or form from other people, you are going to have a very, very tough time keeping a solid and steady hold or grasp on your self-worth because it is literally decided by everybody else. If you take that power back, you are making the first and possibly the most influential and crucial step towards becoming a better and more whole individual. This world has way too many curveballs to also allow outside forces to dictate what your narrative of yourself is.
Yeah, 100%. And to add to that, it's like when doing so, it's like you do that on your own. And then once you do that on your own, you're going to attract people that are on the same path as you. And I had a conversation, and huge shout out to my friend, Maria. We had a conversation last night, and her girlfriend, wonderful woman. They live in Texas, hoping for them to move back because you guys would love them. They're a great couple. And her girlfriend had went through a tough situation. She made such an amazing point. She was speaking to Nicole, and she said, yeah, once I went through that tough time, I then started loving myself and realizing who I was as an individual and what I wanted, and my confidence went up. But I did it for myself. And when that confidence went up, you don't even notice it, but you start attracting people. And to add on to that conversation, prior to that, my friend Maria, because she's known me for some time, so she knew when I was going through that tough situation, she was there. She was in another state, but she was there checking up on me and everything. And she made this comment to Nicole, and she's like, one thing that I always admired about Andrew was that he never allowed what the world said and the people around him who were, sleeping around, getting high body counts, this and that, which by all means, if that's what you want to do, by all means, I respect your decisions. She's like, but I love the fact that he stayed so true to himself, and he didn't allow social media. He didn't allow the people that he was around with. He didn't allow what everyone else was saying around him to dictate who he was going to be as a person. Because at that point, now your personality and who you are as a person is going to constantly be changing, because social media in the world is like this. It's just constantly changing. Like you said, now who Cristobal is today is going to be different who he is tomorrow if you and I are telling him what to say. If you and I are telling him how to act. And she's like, one thing I admire is the fact that Andrew stayed true to himself as an individual and didn't fall into that. And she's like, that is very hard to do. And it stuck with me now, because I'm like, dang, like that's so true. Because if not, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be doing other things. Who knows if I'd even be in the state? You know what I mean? Who knows if I would have made this much progression as an individual and being confident and good with who I am as a person, and being, again, at peace with myself and not really, at war with the world, even though technically, yeah, because we're trying to make a difference in a world that's struggling. But I'm at peace with myself. I can go to bed knowing, bro, you're still you.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that I take is the people that I'm around with, and knowing who I am as an individual. And even for those that may be struggling with it, is the fact that once you stick to that point, and it's freaking hard, it is absolutely difficult, because nobody likes sitting alone and questioning themselves, right? Was it hard when you first started doing that?
It was
very difficult. It's a very difficult thing, because we're so inscripted to be go, always having people around. Don't question yourself. Just keep doing.
It was also to add, like, just letting go of my ego.
Exactly.
A lot of times just making sure that I was checking that at the door, literally. But to add to what you were saying, before I even add to what you were saying, I do want to say, like, both of you guys already know this, but I can tell Reggie's a stand-up guy. I've been knowing him for, maybe 10 years. Pretty cool. Stand-up guy. I've always trusted his choice in people, because he has a good filter source.
He's told me that.
So I know that you're a stand-up guy. I see the way you treat your lady. You're a stand-up person. I see the way you treat your friends. Stand-up person. So I also believe, not to add what you guys were saying earlier, is I like to have pillars. Pillars in my life. People are and this is the only time that I outsource to people. One of the many times. One of the few times I outsource to people is having pillars. Is having a person that I know is going to be there, not for me, but it's going to be there standing up for what they believe in at all times. Because I get to look at them and be like, when I'm in a tough pickle, I say, what would this person do if they were in my shoes? And that's my pillar. You see what I'm saying? Aside from stepping back and taking a step back and really identifying the situation and evaluating yourself, which is a big step, it's also having those pillars. Another pillar, I believe, is going back in time, metaphorically, and speaking to your younger self, like you do with your social media. I think that's a beautiful concept. I think there was this interview on Oprah. It was this gentleman talking to the audience, and they were practicing. It was a practice. They closed their eyes, and he said, think of yourself as a grown person now in a hallway, and you see your younger self down the hallway. Open your arms and wait till that younger self comes to you, and give yourself the biggest, most loving hug that you've ever wanted from whoever you needed it from. Deep. It doesn't stop there. He said, okay, now try to get that small self to come with you out of the door, into the road, and join you on your adventure. If your younger self doesn't want to go with you yet, that's okay. Time will come. If your younger self does want to come with you, then cool. I had this crazy, I'm getting chills right now, yo. I had a crazy epiphany. When I was a young boy, we live in a duplex, in the back duplex. There was a window by the staircase. And I swear, I used to look out the window thinking I should see somebody. Just like this white figure. Like, it was just like, you would see it, and like from the corner of your eye, you would see it from that window. As soon as I heard that story, or the practice session on the Oprah Winfrey Show, that snippet, it was like, what if in some way that was just me from the future telling me it's gonna be all right, kid?
You're on some interstellar stuff right now.
100%.
Yeah.
Again, this is something that I've tied together that may not even be, true, but I wanted to believe it's true because I thought it was the most beautiful thing, because I did that practice, and I honestly cried. It was a really nice experience. I gave myself the love that I wanted, and my inner kid is now with me. He's like, "Yo, I'm with you." So anyway, the pillars are, a recommendation is having that person or people that you look up to, that you know are going to be there to stand up for what they believe in, not for you, but for what they believe in, and yourself as your individual pillar for your younger self.